everybody, and welcome back to Nerdgasm. I am your host, the Black Lantern, Brooklyn Vale, joined today to judge another match in the realm of Nerdgasm. I'm actually not Brooklyn. I am the guy who lost the job to Brooklyn. That'd be Caleb. Yeah, we got a great match here tonight in the tournament. Brooklyn and Cody are here, so don't worry. You're not stuck with this ugly ass face all night. You got Cody and Brooklyn here. Brooklyn, how are you doing? How do you feel about the debate here tonight?
Well, hi guys, I'm Caleb Coho from that safe there, Minnesota. But yeah, I'm actually really excited for this debate, Tim versus Brian. Very contrasting debate styles. So I'm curious to see how that plays out, and these questions I'm really excited for.
Absolutely, and of course, the other co-commissioner of the Nerdgasm division, Cody Newberry, is also on call. Cody, I know you got a friend of yours in here today. How do you feel about the match today, and are you nervous or are you excited?
I'm always nervous a little bit because I've never seen Tim debate. But the moment I messaged him, he couldn't have been more interested. He said, "Hell yes," and his next response was, "My wife's a lawyer." So I was like, "Okay, you can definitely compete." I think he's one of the most underrated fandom fight players. So I'm excited to see him in the new season. But I'm completely unbiased when it comes to debate. So if he doesn't do a great job, I will literally rule in the other favor, and we'll talk about it after stream of how to improve. But I actually have zero fears. I think he'll do great tonight, but it's up in the air. I've seen Brian debate. It came down to a close last question in Jukebox last time. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Both these guys I mentioned who's playing today. We have the returning player from Nerdgasm, Brian Fernandez, taking on one half of the Arkham Knights, the Hulk himself, Tim Brzakala, stepping into the realm of debate. This is going to be a fun, intense one. And I'm going to go ahead and start with our returning player, Brian Fernandez. How do you feel about being back in the realm of Nerdgasm today?
I am in a room with a bunch of idiots. This is all out of love. It's all out of love. I'm really happy to be here. Really happy to be here. And go Sox, by the way. Cody.
Call me an idiot and then say go Sox. What's wrong with you?
I'm just trying to butter you up, dude. Just trying to butter you up.
It's like an abusive dad. You're a piece of shit. I love you, son.
Mm-hmm. Love you too, Dad. I'm really here. I'm really happy to be here right now. To fight my way through. I'm looking for a good match. Looking forward to a good match today.
Awesome. And over to our debuting debater today, Tim Brzakala. How does it feel to get into the realm of Nerdgasm here today?
Hi.
Please tell me we're gonna be redoing all of this.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, we're not.
We're keeping this in.
Oh, all of this is it. All right,
we're doing it live, man. We're doing it live.
I'm really excited. I don't know. I'm excited to debate. I've never debated in a show like this, but I'm pumped. I think that
calm yourself down.
I know a lot about these movies that we're going to talk about, so I think that that will definitely help. I've never played with Brian at all, so I don't really know. I've never seen any of his matches, so I don't really know how he is as a competitor, but it'll be fun. I'm not going to say that I'm like here to win or anything. I mean, I am here to win, but I'm not going to say I'm going to win because I've never done anything like this, so I'm excited. But we'll see what happens. And if I lose, I lose. It's a good experience. But I'm pumped to play. I'm excited.
Absolutely. All right. So with that out of the way, let's get right into the debates of Nerdgasm. And it's going to work like this. For all three of our prepped rounds, you are going to get 1 minute for an opening argument each. Then there will be 5 minutes of free-form debate. Do not talk over each other. No filibustering. None of that. Just present your argument. Go back and forth. Decorum. All the buzzwords that Cody needs me to say. And then you'll have 1 minute once again for closers to wrap it all up and present a nice little sandwich in a bow to Brooklyn Vale, as he likes to say. So with that out of the way, let's get right into the first fight. The first round tonight comes from the category of non-MCU Marvel. And the question chosen was best Marvel movie of the 2000s. So, Brian, you are the higher ranked player. You will go first and give your 1 minute opening when you are ready.
When it comes to Marvel movies, everybody wants to immediately start thinking about, oh, look, this movie has superpowers within them. The movie that I picked does not have any superpowers whatsoever. It is basically a revenge movie that if you are a father and you have kids, you're going to feel for what this guy had to go through. And it's the Punisher. Now the Punisher is a character who basically can't die, but he's not a hero or a villain. He's an anti-hero. You don't know what he really is, but the story within itself is compelling enough to want to find out what is going to happen. So my pick is the Punisher 2004 version with Thomas Jane.
All right, time. All right. 2004's Punisher. All right, we'll go over to Brother Tim. 1 minute for your opening argument when you start talking.
Okay, well, to start, I'm just going to say that we're talking about Marvel movies from 2000 to 2009. The Punisher is not even the best Punisher movie from 2000 to 2009. Warzone is better. But the movie I'm picking is X2, X-Men United. The reason I'm picking this movie is because my initial thought was, let's go Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2. Everybody loves those movies, but I feel like X2 doesn't get the love it deserves. I think it's a perfect superhero movie. It builds upon the original that came out in 2000 to great effect. It builds everything up, makes everything better, but also has more weight. I love Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man 2, but those are comic booky movies. They don't really hold up. X2 holds up. It's a serious movie while also having colorful comic book fun. So that's why I picked X2.
All right. Stopping early and not using all of this time. All right. With that, we will get into the full 5 minutes. X2 versus the Punisher. Go at it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I don't even think the Punisher is the best Punisher movie that came out in 2000 to 2009. I think Warzone is a much more exciting movie, a much more fun movie than the Punisher 2004, which definitely isn't a bad movie, but it's kind of boring. It doesn't have great performances. It's not the best verse men from 2000 to 2009. It's firing on all cylinders.
I mean, here's the thing. When you think about X2, about like X-Men and all that stuff, you think of everybody as wanting to just be like, oh look, I know this character. But when you talk about the Punisher, a lot of comic book nerds have heard about him, but they've never seen him being portrayed on screen right. And I think the Thomas Jane version of it was actually portrayed very, very well, and even like the acting that went within it. John Travolta, being a mob. I wouldn't say like a mob kind of bad guy. He's not a mustache twirly bad guy. I would say this. William Hurt in X2, no, not William Hurt. What the fuck am I talking about?
Yeah, William Hurt's not in X2. Brian Cox.
Brian Cox in X-Men 2 was a little bit more of a mustache twirly villain than
I 100% disagree. John Travolta's whole thing is he's just, killing people for fun because he's part of a gang or a mob or something. Whereas Brian Cox as Stryker, his whole motivation is because of his son, and he hates mutants, but his son is a mutant, and it creates so much drama in there in a Marvel movie. Up to this point, we had seen them fighting on top of the Statue of Liberty with terrible CGI, and then Spider-Man swinging around all comic booky and Willem Dafoe being and it's crazy. And then all of a sudden the next year X2 comes out and it's a family drama with a crazy villain, and the stuff Logan is going through in that movie, as well as Jean and Cyclops, their relationship. The relationships in X2 far are better than any relationships in The Punisher.
I mean, after a while, you just get tired. You get tired of watching the same kind of movie.
It's a completely different movie.
You get tired of watching. You get tired of watching watching mutants. Using powers and whatnot. You don't get tired of watching it's something that came out of left field. A man witnesses his wife and his son get murdered in front of him. Yeah, and he sets out a revenge to get to go after the men who got the man who killed him. But in the way, he's getting sidetracked by his son, by another son that he killed. So by that point there, if you're, like I said in my opening arc, if you are a father and you're watching this movie and you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, had this happened to my son or to my daughter, had this happened to my family, I would have done the same thing. I'm not going to rely on fucking powers to help me out with everything. I'm not going to rely on powers to save the world. I'm not saving the world. I'm trying to go on a revenge to try to kill somebody who killed my family. And that is all he wanted to do.
But but in The Punisher, and I agree. I think that scene in the beginning when the family is killed and Thomas Jane is like realizing what he has to do, that scene is great. And I think the ending fight in the giant building when then John Travolta crawling across that's great. But everything in between is forgettable. You don't forget things from X2. There's them going to the house with going to Iceman's house, and then the police show up. There's all the stuff when they're in the woods with Magneto and Mystique showing up, and then this awesome final battle with Logan and Lady Deathstrike or whatever her name is, and they're fighting, and that's all exciting. And there's never that moment in The Punisher that I was just like, I am rooting for The Punisher. I'm rooting for Frank Castle, but there's never a moment where I'm just like, yeah. And in X2, whether there's powers or not, you care about the characters, and these characters are just you're so invested in them already, and it's just, I think, just a much better movie overall.
There are memorable moments within the Punisher, that middle section there when you just
time. All right. We will go to Tim first for closing arguments. We have 1 minute whenever you start talking for your closing.
I just think that not even as a sequel, just as a film, X2 stands out as being one of the best comic book movies ever made. In my opinion, it's up there with The Dark Knight, Iron Man, The Avengers. It's that good of a comic book movie, and it's because of the relationships. It has a great villain. It furthers the story from the first one and all of the characters and their journeys, whereas The Punisher just doesn't have the emotional weight that I think something like X2 does. It wants you to feel that emotion. I want to feel like it. I'm not a father, so I can't talk to that, but I want to feel for Frank Castle, but the movie is just it's just slow. It doesn't really work overall as a cohesive movie. It's a bit long, and so you just don't feel for Frank Castle, and overall the movie just doesn't work because of that.
Okay, stopping a couple seconds early. Brian, 1 minute for your closing whenever you are ready.
The Punisher is a movie that everybody will give a chance, and they want to say, I want to watch something different. I don't want to watch a movie that that's very I want to see something that's different. The Punisher is different. The Punisher is a character that's completely different from every other character that's there. The story for it is very point-centered, and it's dead on of what it wanted to do, and it succeeded at that. It's an underappreciated movie that everybody needs to rewatch. It's a movie that had it had a sequel, then it would have explained a little bit more on Frank Castle, and we would have seen a little bit more on it, but we didn't get a sequel for it. So The Punisher is an underappreciated movie. It's one of those movies that you can definitely rewatch it, and it's a little bit more of it is a cohesive movie as a whole.
Time. All right, I'm going to start with Brooklyn for your judging on this one.
All right. So there are great points brought up by both competitors. I mean, Tim coming right out of the gates, how saying the Punisher Warzone is the much better is the better Punisher film of the 2000s. Like, so why don't you argue with that? I really got a sense of what Brian was trying to argue. How Thomas Jane gave an accurate portrayal of the Punisher. How this is sort of a different approach to the superhero genre, sort of like a palate cleanser. And that how there is it's like this realistic, gritty feel, like a more focused plot. But Tim really, really sold me on how he was just able to sort of counter everything that Brian is able to say. Really able to attack Warzone as well as praise X2 with the memorable scenes on how this is a filling sequel. What X2 was able to do as a movie in general. So I'll give my points to him.
All right. I don't see Cody here, so I'm going to go next. I understood what Brian was going for. He had a good outline of an argument. He just didn't really attack X2. And he tried a lot to defend the Punisher, but a lot of his defenses and his counters just didn't quite land to defend himself from Tim's attacks very strongly. So my point will also go to Tim, which means Tim gets the first point. Cody, your vote didn't matter. But how would you have leaned?
I think this was a debate on two different topics. Tim was arguing the question. Brian was arguing most unique comic Marvel movie, and just never matched up. It was pretty much blow for blow. I have to give it to Tim.
All right, so Tim has the first point as we get into round number 2, and our second question is in the category of the Fast and the Furious, and the question is what is the best relationship in the Fast and Furious franchise? And Tim, you'll be going first on this one. You will have 1 minute for your opening argument when you start talking.
All right, so I thought a lot about this one. I was thinking about all the characters in Fast and the Furious. Should it be Dom and his car? Should it be, Jason Statham and his muscles? Which is the best relationship here in Fast and the Furious? What I ended up going with is Dom, Dominic Toretto, and Brian. So the reason I picked Dom and Brian are because they're the relationship, save for Fate of the Furious, because obviously Brian's not in that movie, and for 2 and 3, because Dom is not in those and Brian's not in 3 as well. Their relationship is kind of what carries the movies. From the first movie, when they meet and they have this rivalry, but because of events of the movie, they become pals, but still not like 100%. But throughout the rest of the movies, they're best friends until you get that amazing ending to Furious 7 that kind of shows how big of a relationship it is.
Time. All right. Brian, 1 minute for your opening when you start talking. What is the best relationship in the Fast and Furious franchise?
It's always a relationship that brought. It's a relationship that without her, as the main central part of everything, she would have not made the movie. So the relationship that I'm going for is Brian and Mia. Mia is that relationship there with Brian and Mia when Brian first meets with Dom, and then he ends up meeting up with Mia. Mia was always telling Brian, make sure you protect him, make sure you keep him safe. And without her being that middle, that center part, that focal point there that both men are fighting about, then you wouldn't have the relationship with Dom and Brian.
Time. All right. Brian appearing in both relationships. Brian and Dom. Brian and Mia. Free form. 5 minutes. Whenever you start talking.
What I was gonna say is I just think that I understand what you're saying about Mia and Brian having a great relationship, because they do. They end up having children together. It's obviously a very meaningful relationship. But I think the reason that Dom and Brian's relationship just like has more of an impact is because you can kind of see the Brian and Mia thing coming. Like, she's the hot girl in the movie and she's the sister to the friend. And so you see that coming. Yes, it is meaningful, but then when so like he doesn't know if he should trust Brian, all of a sudden then family's the most important thing to him, and he lets this guy into his family even though he wasn't sure about it, and that, you know how meaningful that is to Dom.
I really hate it. I really hate whenever anybody is saying that Mia is just, the hot girl with it, in the movie. I'm just saying in general, whenever anybody says that, it grinds my fucking gears, because she is not just a pretty face. She is not just there. Yes, she is Dom's sister, but had Brian not met Mia and Brian would have just been with Dom, we wouldn't have seen a cohesive relationship with them. We wouldn't have seen a good relationship with them. It would have been such a very rocky relationship, and they would have probably fucking hated each other. But had Mia been there and just say, you need to chill your shit, both of you, and her just saying, just laying down everything that needed to happen. You guys are together for a reason. She is the main reason why they are both brothers, why they are both family, why everybody is family. She is the main reason for it all. So, and just the relationship there with Brian and Dom, that's a friendship there that I don't think would have had a good pairing.
Is there any moment, and answer me truthfully, don't just make something up, is there any moment in any of the 1, 2, 5 movies or so that all 3 of these characters appear in that is better than that final scene in Furious 7 when they are driving off together and Dom and Brian are looking at each other? And yeah, sure, maybe it's because Paul Walker died, but is there any moment in the franchise that between Brian and Mia that is better than that scene between Dom and Brian? Because that's the best scene in the franchise, and I can't say that there's a single scene that's better with Brian and Mia than that scene with Dom and Brian, because their relationship is so good and you feel that relationship so much that final scene is just incredible in that movie.
Oh yeah, there's a scene.
Which one?
When Brian and Mia, when Mia just tells Brian and Dom right when they're running in the favelas of Brazil, when they're being chased by The Rock's character, you just see this. She just stops both of them, and she just says, "I'm pregnant." That came out of nowhere, and it shocked him, and it shocked Dom. But that was the moment there. That was the initial moment right there that they really need to put themselves together. And that moment was impactful. That was
an impactful moment, but that moment didn't make my mom cry, who's only seen one Fast and the Furious movie ever, and
it made my mom, my sisters, and even my fucking brother cry. It made them cry to a very certain extent.
And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is in Fast 5. In the beginning of Fast 5, they're chummy, they're pals, sure, and they are friends, they have that relationship, and that's the thing.
They're not friends, they're family.
It goes from this nothing to everything, to family, and because it just goes from nothing to family. Whereas, yet again, I'm not saying that she's just the hot girl, but you can tell from the beginning of the movie that Brian and Mia are gonna be together. You can tell because it's generic. And
how can you tell? How can you tell?
That's how how movies are made. That it's common sense that the hot guy and the hot girl in the movie are gonna end up together. He looks.
Okay, let's say this. If they were not together, would we see the same relationship with Dom and Brian? No, they would have not.
Time. All right, Brian, you're going to go first with your closing argument. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Okay. I can name another impactful moment in the movie that really blew everybody's, that blew a tear in everybody's eyes when Mia and Brian and Dom sees a bunch of like everybody else coming together, and they're all having a family dinner, and he just says she can't have any more because she's pregnant. That's a moment there when you truly know that is a true family relationship there. Mia is a center focal point of the main relationship with Dom and Brian. She is the main point of it. And if anybody comes at me and says that she's just a fucking hot girl, that she's just this, that she's just that, I'm gonna fucking slap the shit out of you.
Time.
I love you though, but I'm gonna slap the shit out of you.
All right, Tim, 1 minute for your closing whenever you start talking.
Sorry, that had nothing to do with it, but I just had to add that.
All right, so I'm gonna get the shit slapped out of me apparently, and you know what? That's okay because in the end, like I have said throughout this, Dom and Brian started out as nothing, as enemies really, and their relationship grew and grew and grew to become the strongest thing of the franchise. When you think of Fast and the Furious, you think of three things. You think of Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel, you think of Paul Walker, and you think of cars and action. Those are the three things. Maybe The Rock too, so maybe four things. But you think of those two characters, Dom and Brian, and their relationship and how they started out as nothing and enemies and became best friends to the point where it was such an emotional moment for everybody in the theater knowing that their relationship was coming to a close in this movie. So tastefully done. Overall, Brian and Dom are just the better relationship.
All right, time. All right, so I'm going to start with Cody because your vote didn't count last time. I'll let you go first on this one. Where are you leaning and why?
Mia's just a hot girl. Basically where it boils down now.
I will fly to where you are, Cody.
Okay, that's terrifying. So
sorry, that was just a perjure. That was a perjure in me coming out. Sorry.
This is just a very interesting debate. I hate what Tim did, but because as a person in debate, I feel like I don't have to answer your questions. But he sent out the question and Brian had to answer it, and I think that was like a linchpin in the thing where Brian was able to not be able to counter that very well, because yes, he mentioned it, but he took a long time to try to explain it, and it kind of took away the fight to a new direction, and Tim was just able to come back with more haymakers. That may be how I saw it, but there's two other judges. So I give Tim a point for this one, but Caleb and Brooklyn, if I'm wrong, let me know.
All right, well, we're going to go over to Brooklyn and get Brooklyn's thoughts. Where are you leaning and why?
I believe the terminology that Cody's looking for is what he likes to call himself a step back. I think that's what Tim effectively did, was that he just threw the haymaker with, the Fury 7 scene. You're almost sort of anticipating it. And I think Brian was just got a little caught up on it. I think he had some interesting points there in the end, and on how essentially his relationship, if it doesn't happen, he like it's sort of like the two relationships are sort of interwoven where you sort of need one for the other. But I think that haymaker thrown in the middle of the round was really what sort of set it in stone for me. So I give my point to Tim as well.
All right, so it does not matter what I think. Tim gets the second point, which makes this last question of prep debate a must-hit for Brian, or else it is a knockout for Tim. The third question in the prep round comes in the category of Star Wars, and it is the question was, what one change would most improve Star Wars: The Last Jedi? Brian, you'll be going first on this one. 1 minute when you start talking.
I want them to continue the storyline that The Last Jedi finished off with. Now that Kylo Ren, and this is spoilers for anybody who has not seen The Last Jedi. Once Snoke died and Kylo Ren took over, I want to see where that goes to. I want them to continue that. I also want them to continue what is going to happen. Whether if there's more Jedi out there, far out within the galaxy. If there's more Jedi out there, great. Let there be some more on it. Continue that storyline there. What is Kylo Ren going to do? Now that Snoke is dead, how is he going to change up the First Order? What is going to happen with Rey, Poe, and Finn?
Time.
What is going to happen?
All right, Tim. 1 minute for your opening. Whenever you start talking.
Brian, I think that all sounds great. It's called Star Wars Episode 9. It's coming to theaters this December in 2019. All that stuff is coming. You're going to get it. But we're talking about The Last Jedi and improving The Last Jedi. And all that stuff, if you want an extra 45 minutes onto an already 2.5-hour movie, then that's great. Let's do that. But no, Last Jedi was long enough as it is. So we're going to talk about improving that movie itself. And I'm picking giving more backstory on Snoke. I think the Snoke death in the movie is the best scene in the movie. I love that scene even more than the fight that follows it. Snoke dying is great. But I think had we known more about Snoke, maybe in either Force Awakens or obviously in The Last Jedi, I think that death would have been even more impactful. So that is my choice, is a little bit more backstory on Snoke so that we know who he is, why he is doing what he's doing with Kylo and the Knights of Ren.
All right. 5 minutes, open free form. How about it?
This is just to clarify. This is what we want to see happening for episode 9, 10, and 11. This is after The Last Jedi, correct?
No, this is one change you would make to The Last Jedi to make it better.
Oh, that we're gonna make to The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
I think a little bit more backstory on Snoke. I mean, it probably wouldn't change the fact that everybody had theorized, oh, he's going to be Darth Plagueis. He's going to be Darth Plagueis. They wouldn't have brought that into the lore, honestly.
I'm not saying that it needs to be Darth Plagueis. That's not what I'm saying. I just want to know why, even if he's not Darth Plagueis, why is he so force sensitive? Why does he want the son of Han Solo and the nephew of Luke Skywalker? All of these things, all of his backstory of why he's doing these things, that's what I want to know. And honestly, it sounds like you don't really have an argument to counter against me. So I mean, like I've got this because this is something that would improve The Last Jedi. Again, we're not talking about Canto Bite or Porgs or anything else like that. And I actually really love The Last Jedi, but I think making this good thing even better by showing us what Snoke is really all about, and I hope we eventually get it, but in The Last Jedi, I think it would have been great to have that backstory to really, really flesh out a pretty unknown character, and I think most people would agree we don't know a lot about Snoke.
And I think just to keep him as an unknown character would have been a little bit more interesting. Because then we can get different spin-offs within like the novelizations, that'll give us more backstory on him. But just to have too much backstory within the movie would have taken up a lot of time. It would have taken up a little bit too much time.
It took 2 minutes of screen time to show why Luke was off on a on a different planet in isolation by himself. 2 minutes. That's all I need. I need 2-3 minutes of screen time showing there were plenty of flashbacks in The Last Jedi. Give me a flashback of Snoke with a younger Kylo Ren after he burns down the temple and kills all those other younglings with Luke. Give me that flashback because it would make that death so much more powerful. Why Kylo hates this guy so much and wants to kill him.
I need a judge clarification here for 1 second. Brian,
Okay.
What is it exactly that you're arguing to change to The Last Jedi?
Okay, I'm arguing that we should. Oh fuck! Can we reset? Can we? I want to change up my answer for it. Can I? Is that a lot? Is that a lot?
8 hours later.
Go ahead.
I think I've said all I need to say. I think Snoke, getting more backstory on him would really, really help the movie. One of the complaints that I heard a lot from people who liked The Last Jedi is that they wish they would have gotten more Snoke and more backstory on him, and that's my main complaint as someone who loves the movie. So that's why I'm going with that.
The one thing that I was always thinking about, and I never really thought about it, was I wanted to learn a lot more about Snoke. I wanted to know about Snoke. I didn't go into thinking that. I went into thinking, once Snoke died and once Luke went on, what happened? What happens after that? What's the next kind of plan that they're gonna be, that they're gonna go into, what kind of adventure are they gonna go into? Ray seems to think that she doesn't get any answers for her parents, but she's still questioning whether if her parents are still out there or if they're not. So she still has that in the back of her mind. What if that was explored? What if that was explored for another 15 minutes? What if we got to see Poe Dameron take control of these new rebels, and now that Leia is stepping down from it, what's gonna happen from there? I would love to see that. A little bit too much of Snoke would have just been a little bit too, gimme, and I don't want more Snoke.
All right. Tim, you have 1 minute for your closing when you start talking.
I think that in the end, I kind of get where Brian's coming from, wanting to see Kylo Ren and where he goes. We do get a little bit of that in the movie at the last 20 minutes or so with the fight on Crate and him screaming and being a giant baby. Kylo Ren is my favorite character in this new trilogy. Far and away, I love Kylo Ren the most. But we do see what he is becoming, how he's becoming as a leader in this movie, and I hopefully explored more in Episode 9. But we don't get that backstory on Snoke. And while you might not have been going into the movie wanting to know more about Snoke, I definitely did, especially at the end of Episode 7 when he says, find the girl and bring her to me, or whatever he says. He wants Rey, and I wanted to know why, and I wanted more of Snoke in Episode 8.
All right, stopping a little bit early. Brian, you have 1 minute for your closing whenever you start talking.
The ending of the movie when Kylo Ren did fought up against the Force ghost of Luke, and him saying that that he killed the last Jedi, and Luke said that he's not the last Jedi, then that's then that brings up a lot of questions, of who is the last Jedi. Could it be Rey? Could it be some other, could it be another Jedi that's out in another system somewhere? That could, that's a question right there that could have been brought up, that's could be explored a little bit more. When Leia, passing the torch to Poe, to Poe Dameron, to continue on, that's probably could be, there could be a little bit of dialogue there to get something, of your Snoke, but that's basically about it. it's all about passing the torch, and I would love to see how the passing of the torch would happen.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with Brooklyn. Actually, what are your thoughts and where are you going?
So I'm not gonna lie. This was, I mean, like, for pretty well for the start, right on. Tim was sort of in control of this. Just Brian. I heard like Brian was able to sort of like make some ground a little bit, but I never heard in his argument why what he wanted needed to be in The Last Jedi, and it was sort of everything that he said. All Tim had to say was, yes, that can happen, but it can happen in the next movie, like where the movie is already 2.5 hours. So for me, pretty easily, it goes to Tim.
All right. I am also going to give my point to Tim. I think Tim was just fully in control of this from the outset. Cody, your vote didn't matter. Where would you have gone?
My faction mate is a fucking savage. Literally, that's called episode 9. That's just, he just went for the KO and it worked. Again, this is just, I think, a prep problem. This is kind of a thing that I want to put throughout the leagues. You could not win our league by speed round alone. You can't win it for off the cuff. You have to win it in prepped. So if and it's nothing against Brian, life happens. I totally understand. But make sure you're prepped before you enter the ring, because, or at least know what you're talking about. Because that was a problem here tonight. I think Brian did a good job, but I would have given it to Tim, hands over.
All right, so with that, your winner by way of knockout, Tim the Hulk Brzakala. I'm going to start with Tim right now with a quick post-match interview. You got your first win, and it was a knockout. How does that make you feel about being in this debate league? First debate ever.
It feels good. I was excited. Like I said at the top, I didn't come here, expecting to win. I just came expecting to have fun. I definitely had fun. Brian's a good competitor. I was pretty worried that he was going to beat me out on that Fast and the Furious question, to be completely honest. I'm honestly a little shocked you guys went with me on that one. But so I think that he really had me on the ropes there. So congrats for that one. And then, I love Marvel movies and I love Star Wars. So I got lucky by being able to talk passionately about two things I like. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on your win. Your next round, you are playing the winner of Sandy Robinson and Jim Green. Of the two, who would you rather be facing in the next round?
Well, I only know of Mr. Green. I've only played with Mr. Green. So, yeah, but he's scary. So I don't know. I think either would be good competitors. I'd probably have to go with Jim, though, just because I know of him a little bit more, so I feel like I could prep better for Jim specifically.
Speaking as Jim's team partner, you do not want that match, but absolutely. Hope you get it. But yeah,
as your manager, you want that match. You want that match back.
All right. Well, congratulations on your win. We'll go over to our unfortunate loser today, Brian. How do you feel about your performance tonight in this match?
It was fucking terrible. It was terrible. The opening round, I knew going for some reason I had a feeling he was gonna probably pick either Spider-Man 2 or X-Men 2. I had a feeling he was gonna pick that, and guess what? He picked X-Men 2. Congrats on that, dude. The Fast and Furious one, I love Fast and Furious so much. I love that whole franchise there. And I thought that was a round in itself, probably a round that I was so passionate about, and I wanted to get that one fucking point there within that round, but it went over to Tim, so that left me in a little bit of a disappointment. And then Star Wars, fuck Star Wars, fuck it.
All right.
Yeah. And then I just wanna let you know this right now. If I do get another match, consider this my formal retirement from movie Battleground. And if I lose my next match, I'm officially retiring from movie Battleground.
Okay. Well, I'm sure movie Battleground would be sad to hear that from us at Nerdgasm. I guess we are sad to see you go. Sorry to see you go, and I guess this is the last we'll see of you then if you are
This
resigning.
this is just movie battleground, but every other platform, multiplex and all that stuff, like Warzone and all that stuff. You're still gonna see me there, but this is just This is just movie debates.
All right.
So
Well, we'll see you in the realm of trivia then. I guess that's it for you in debate here. Again, sorry about your win, and we'll see you in the trivia leagues.
sorry about my win.
Loss. Your loss. Sorry about your loss, and we'll see you in the trivia leagues. All right. So, Brooklyn, what are your thoughts on the match here today overall?
I mean, it's always unfortunate to hear somebody retire. I know exactly how Brian feels. You're sort of down on yourself. You feel defeated. Maybe just it's similar to myself realizing that debate, like for me, trivia isn't my thing. So maybe for Brian, he's just realizing that debate isn't his thing. But props to Tim being the first person to get a knockout in the new Nerdgasm format. So I would be scared to go up against Tim, whoever he faces, whether it be Jim or Sandy. But yeah, kind of ashamed it didn't get to go to speed round.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Tim just lived up to. He keeps living up to that nickname, the Hulk, no matter what he plays in. Whether it's debate, trivia, he lives up to it. He played a good game today, and I'm excited to see him go to the second round. Cody, do you have any final thoughts you want to give before we wrap this one up?
Like I said, there's a few people that when you join this community that you become friends with, and I'm so happy that I am friends with Tim Brzakala. This dude is a beast. He's just the one thing, like his nickname's the Hulk, but I was like worried because he's such a nice guy most of the time when we talk. Like he never really says a lot of trash talk. Like we're trying to break him out of that shell a little bit because I want him to just fucking annihilate somebody in trash talk. But I think in debate he turned it on and he showed it, and he fully prepped because he was on a honeymoon and everything. So I don't know if he fully prepped. I know he knows his stuff. But if he takes it 100%, like Robert takes fandom, Robert himself in this tournament needs to look out. I think Tim could come for that belt in a heartbeat.
All right. Well, from all of us here at Nerdgasm, thank you so much for watching this match. That was Tim. That was Brian. That was Brooklyn. That was Cody. I've been Caleb. This has been Nerdgasm. We will see you in the next round of the tournament. See ya.